Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. So good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Meanwhile, everybody is joining, I will be starting. Today, I'm going to speak to you from the Washington Extension Service in the state of Washington, WSU, and I'm located in Colfax, Washington State. This is the eastern part of the state where there is a lot of soft white winter wheat grown, just like in Ukraine. Okay, so I'm going to start the presentation just in one moment. Okay. So today is the 100th year of the ruthless and unprovoked war that Russia has started towards Ukraine and Ukrainian people. We are still there. We are still protecting our territory. We've lost some, unfortunately, but we will definitely fight it back. And let me give you a little review on what is the situation on the war right now. So first of all, there are two cities located over here that, if taken, can allow Russian army make a circle and encircle our troops over here. And from there, they can proceed further. In Kharkiv Oblast, over here, we are more successful. I mean, the Ukrainian army, and you see this blue part. This was just recently that we attacked the Russians and regained our territories. As of now, the Kharkiv Oblast, and let me remind you that the Oblast, this is the Ukrainian administrative region, just like the state. In this Oblast, we have freed 23 towns and villages from Russian troops. However, there is no safe place in Ukraine from the missiles. And they are, Russians are shelling the cities even far away to the west. However, the most under attack are Mykolaiv. This is over here, very close to Kherson. Zaporizhia is over here. And of course, Kharkiv. Kharkiv is just here, just like I showed. Just a second, let me mute somebody. Yeah, okay. Some success. I'm sorry. Yeah, some success was gained in Kherson Oblast, which is the Ukrainian California. It produces a lot of vegetables. It has the back then in the USSR had the most sophisticated and well-developed irrigation system. Right now, farmers are very well still using it. I mean, were using before the war. So for you to understand in a simple numbers, about 20% of the Ukrainian territory, and you know that Ukraine is the biggest country in Europe, was occupied. That is to compare a little bit less than half of Italy, 1/3 of Germany, 1/5 of France, and 34% more than the territory of Hungary. This is what is going on in Ukraine. So the first goal of Russians is to occupy these two administrative regions in Ukraine, the Luhansk and Donetsk region. However cynical it is, but Russians have always been claiming they are protecting the Russian-speaking people. Those Russian-speaking people are, the largest numbers of them are in those two regions. And as a result, those two regions are most devastated from Russian attacks. Of course, second after Mariupol city, which is over here in Zaporizhia Oblast. So as you can see, 90% of Luhansk right now is occupied, a little bit over, or maybe plus or minus half of Donetsk Oblast is occupied. This is a close-up look to the eastern situation. This is the Severodonetsk and Lysychansk. These two towns are vital for Russians, and they have gained some success. Unfortunately, over here in Popasna, and there are roads here. So Ukrainian army are holding strong on these roads in order not to allow this circle to close. However, in the case with Severodonetsk, it is lower on the territory compared to Lysychansk. And although it was just the last week that Russians were proceeding in this town and they captured it, majority of it. However, Ukrainian army has forced them to focus all their forces here instead of other regions. And as a result, Russians bared a lot of losses here in Severodonetsk. Of course, it is necessary to, I must admit that Ukrainian army is holding a lot of losses as well. And our president, Volodymyr Zelensky, said maybe about a week ago that per day we lose about from 50 to 100 soldiers, Ukrainian soldiers who are defending our country, unfortunately. Right now, we are expecting the first or some of the beginning of the supply of the military weapons coming from the United States and their allies within the land lease agreement. So there were a lot of talks about these artillery units, HIMARS, MLRS, and President of the United States, Joe Biden, said that they will not be giving the any systems that can reach further the Russian territory. However, they will provide us with everything that is needed for protection and for attacking our territories. And the M13, M31 HIMARS, they can reach within 80 kilometers. And this orange part shows how far we can fight back with them once we are able to establish them on this front line. It is very important to know that since the annexation of Crimea, Russia has built a huge bridge over here. Actually, this is it. And this bridge was, yes, it was extremely expensive for them. It was done very quickly, very thoroughly. However, this is the supply chain for them to bring the weapons and the soldiers towards Ukraine and to attack Ukrainian forces. So in other words, it is vital to be destroyed from the military logistical standpoint of view. And there were a lot of talks of our military analysts and of our officials that we cannot afford. By saying that, I mean, we do not have any weapon that is that far reaching to destroy this bridge. Also, Russians have a lot of anti-missile systems, at least 3 of them, including some of them standing, being positioned on their ships that are protecting the bridge. So the most effective way would be to explode it with the explosives on the ground, but it is very well defended. So right now, Ukrainian army is looking for the ways how to destroy it. However, it was built in such a way that even if part of it is damaged, it will still be functioning, unfortunately. So during the 5 years of war in Syria, that's just for the comparison, Russia has used only 100 missiles. However, during these 100 days of the war with Ukraine and in Ukraine, Russia has used over 3,000 missiles. At times, I'm connected to the Telegram channels. This is the messenger type thing, and we receive all the missile alarms there. So the map which shows which of the regions should be secured because there is a probability of missile coming there. At times, at least once a day, majority of Ukraine is in red color, which means it is under the danger. Russians continue to be attracted by agricultural equipment, and at the beginning they were said to be very much interested in the monitors from the GPS, the precision monitors on the tractors and combines. So also we've heard the story how in Melitopol they have stolen a number of new equipment which was found later than in Chechnya. Right now we have the new case, farm Yaseny in Zaporizhia region, which is partially occupied. They have stolen majority of their equipment, which totals 6 million UA hryvnias. This means that the exchange rate right now is 33 to 1. So $1 is worth 33 hryvnias. In addition to that, they have started to steal the steel. I'm sorry for the tautology, but they have already gone to a bigger, massive looting. And what they did after they have fully occupied Mariupol, they have stolen at least 3,000 metric tons of steel from that factory. And as you can see there, that's not the only option. I mean, not the only case of them taking Ukrainian produce to their territories and to Crimea. I will speak more about that. Speaking of the looting, this is just the recent picture of the Russian soldiers leaving in the tank with all the stolen stuff from the city. You see what they are leaving behind. However, they are taking whatever they can. In here on this photograph, you can see the dog's house. Why would they need it? It is hard to answer. Also, to prove that they are fighting with civilians and with the country, not the military part, but with the energy independence of the country. They have recently hit the newest solar power station that worked only 1 year. And it is located very far away from any military object. That is the Kharkiv region system. So, yeah, according to Ukrainian statistical data, these are the losses of Russian army. However, I just recently saw, maybe 2 days ago, the same analysis about the killed Russian soldiers from the intelligence, American and Great Britain and British, and the numbers were half less, so about 15,000. It is hard to say because there are different systems of estimation of the losses. You know that there are a lot of dead soldiers still staying in Ukrainian territories that were fought back by Ukrainian army, and they are, I mean, the bodies are kept in the refrigerated the train cars in order for them to be given back to the families. So it's either they consider only those who are whose bodies are there, or maybe some other calculations, but still that's a lot. 2 days ago, it was the International Day of Children, and the saddest thing about this war is that it has killed a lot of children, and actually this is 243 children died. However, a lot of them were in the position that their life is ruined by all those terrible things that were done with them by the soldiers, by Russian soldiers. Some of them are at the psychological, are receiving psychological support in the Western countries. So a lot of them lost their either legs or hands, so very severely damaged. These people have, these small children, these small citizens have been hurt for all their life. And in order to commemorate the ones who died in Lviv, which is the city in the Western Ukraine, they had a number of buses, tourist buses with these toys traveling to show how many there could have been Ukrainian tourists coming to Lviv, and they will never come. On our Facebook webpage, there will be a story of the woman who was a strong supporter of Russian army and Russian church. However, when Russian soldiers came, they killed her mother, and they did terrible things to that woman. And as you can see, she said that I wanted to die, but I couldn't. So it was the situation when it was the death would be the best case scenario, according to what she said. I'm not going to spend more time here, but in details, her description will be posted on our Facebook. So now let's shift to the agricultural matters. In the fields, which I call the second, the agricultural fields are the second battlefield of this war. We have already, I mean, Ukrainian farmers have already planted 11.5 million hectares of grains and oilseeds. This is the statistical data of May 30. That is only 75% from the areas planted by that time last year. Here you can see it's in Ukrainian, but let me translate. That is the spring crops planting season. First comes corn, then sunflower, soybeans, barley, spring barley, and spring wheat. You know that we grow a lot of winter wheat. Spring wheat is usually less in acreage, much less. So corn, the blue, this is the acreage, actually hectareage of corn planted in 2021. The yellow is the actual planted hectares this year, and in green, that is what was planned to be planted in this year. By saying planted, those were the plans after the war started. So you see a little bit more than expected. We planted corn. Sunflower is much less. Soybeans, a little bit more. Barley, the same. And wheat, the same. Ukrainian farmers have shifted to planting more wheat this year, because this is the commodity that requires less fertilizers. It is less in the volume of harvest. It is more valuable, and it is consumed directly by people. So we have used almost 100% of the last year's spring wheat acreage. And with the spring canola, which is the same case as with wheat. We plant usually quite a few, just a few hectares of spring commodity of rapeseed rather than winter. Winter canola is much more popular to be planted in Ukraine. So it is about 80% of the spring cereals and legumes. What are the most generally describing factors of our planting season this year? Like I said, the farmers are shifting to the crops with which require less inputs, which have less harvest volume because we do not have the capacity to store, and we will talk a little bit later about it. We are the crops that have higher local consumption because we cannot export again, and soybeans replace corn in some acres. Sunflower is planted less, and you know that Ukraine is the biggest producer of sunflower worldwide. Europe depends upon the sunflower products very much, like for example oil, and Ukraine produces about half of all the sunflower for the oil purposes. We consume a lot of buckwheat, therefore more hectares with buckwheat are coming, and this is probably the most successful year for those farmers who grow sugar beet. So they are considering more acres with sugar beet. This is the projected harvest this year. So let me explain you what the Ukrainian Ministry of Agricultural Policy is expecting we will harvest. So the expected total harvest is to be about 66.5 millions metric tons. For you to understand, our total capacity to store is about 57 millions of metric tons. And after the damage is done to the villages and to some very important terminals and storage facilities, now it is less. However, it is hard to say how much less. So, and the total area that is going to be involved in plant in this season is only 19 million hectares. For you to understand, it was at the best times, it is 28, like 30% less. Ending stocks. This means the old crop that is still in the storage from the previous season. So in the season 21-22, we had 25 million metric tons remaining in the storages. And it is expected that by the end of this season, which is in the next year, we will be in the best case scenario having 31 million metric tons in our storages. And in the worst case scenario, this is when this is in case the export is done not that good, we will have 43 million metric tons in storage by the spring 2023. Okay, so here we have the actual breakdown on the crops. I'm sorry, I will mute. Yes. So on this chart, we see corn first. Again, blue one, this is the harvest of 2021. And the yellow, it is the plan. Okay, we will need to look at the green. So the green part means what was planted by the 30th of May and what harvest is expected from those acres. So this is the harvest, the volume of the harvest, millions of metric tons of corn. This is sunflower, this is soybeans, this is wheat, This is barley and canola. You can see that the last year's bars are much higher on all of the crops than this year's. The reasons why we are expecting less volume in the harvest, first of all, due to the lack of the acreage planted, because of the mined field, because of the occupied fields, and so on. Second reason is the lack of inputs, and I will be talking about it a little bit later, but they result in lower expectations of yields. So the actual fertilization and crop protection programs, they will lower their outcome. Here we have a breakdown on each of the crops in comparison with the previous year. You can see here the Ukrainian oblasts, and you can see the numbers in this orange circle. They mean the millions of tons, metric tons produced in the oblast of this crop. So right now we are talking about 3 crops: wheat, corn, barley, and some other cereals, but mainly these 3 ones. 18 million tons is forecasted to be harvested this year. In last year, it was 32, almost a half. Although I said that farmers tend to increase the acreage with wheat, but they are increasing the acreage with spring wheat. It usually yields less, and it is still not that substantial to cover the lack of the future yield. Corn is going to be 26, but it used to be last year 42. It is fair to mention that last year was one of the best years in the total volume produced in Ukraine. Therefore, we are comparing with the most successful year. Barley, a little bit over 5 million metric tons. Last year, it was a little less than 10, so half. And with other cereals, it is 1.4 compared to 2.3. Again, a little bit less than half. Oil seeds, and those are sunflower, soybeans, and canola. Okay, I see the question. What is normal corn producing year then? It is hard to say, because we've had over the last 5 years, we've had the very bad year, 2020, and a very good 2021. Maybe someone let's ask this question to Anton Korobko. He is the farmer, and he can speak firsthand, so to say, what does it mean, the average year for Ukraine. He will be joining us in about 15 minutes. So soybeans, sunflower. As I said, 50% of sunflower is grown in Ukraine, world volume of sunflower. And you can see how much this total sunflower production is reduced this year, from 16.5 to 10.5. And the second country would be Russia, that produces sunflower. Soybeans, 3 million metric tons instead of 3.5 million. And I've said that farmers prefer soybean right now to corn for the reason that it requires less fertilizers. Canola, 2.7 million metric tons compared to 0.9. Almost didn't change. This is probably the luckiest crop this year. So now we are shifting to the topic of the dangers that the farmers are facing planting the crops. And this is one of the reasons that the agricultural fields are actually the second battlefields. So we've heard a lot of stories that fields were mined by Russians, and it takes quite a while to demine the soils. And we are still facing, every week there is a new piece of news of the tractors or agricultural equipment exploding in the fields. Unfortunately, not all of the cases are without the farmers dying. In some cases, they die. This was just on the 1st of June, and the important thing here is that it happened in the oblast, in the area where there were no Russian soldiers at all. And this tillage equipment exploded on part of the fragment of the cluster rocket, which actually is forbidden to be used by the Geneva Convention. However, it is very oftenly used in Ukraine, and the peculiarity of this rocket is that these elements, they can explode later, so they just get dissipated in the air, and they land onto their territory and wait for their time to explode. Very difficult is for the farmers to gain their fertilizers, because just over the last week the prices went up 10%. The main reason is inability to import them to Ukraine, of course. However, even due to the fact that farmers tried to supply themselves with fertilizers upfront, and they purchased from 60 to 75% of their fertilization program upfront, they still lack a lot. And this is, like I said, mentioned, one of the reasons they are considering shifting to the crops that require less fertilizers, less inputs. So over the last month, the price went up in total 40%. Let me remind you, the exchange rate from Ukrainian hryvnia to dollar is 3.3 right now. So it is about $835 for ammonium nitrate metric ton. And for urea, it is almost $1,000. So to compare with the prices before the 2020 planting year, it is 3 times higher, 300% higher. Very serious problem for the farmers is shortage of the fuel, and not only farmers feel it, of course. However, we are talking about the most important industry in Ukraine, that is agricultural industry, and it had some privileges in when the regulations were made this year. So they are supplied, the supply of agricultural industry with fuel is a priority, the second after the military, of course. So the prices are going up. There is a huge lack of fuel supply of diesel. Although diesel, however strange it may seem, is more available at the gas stations than the regular gasoline. And of course, the lack of the fuel is one of the critical points that farmers are considering whether to plant or not the acreage. Last week, I talked to one of the farmers, and he said that this year he is not planting an acre because he has no fuel. He has a lot of commodities in the storage, and he doesn't have money for the planting, which means that his fields, and that is a little bit over 1,000 hectares, will be fallow. That ends up in the reduction by 30% of the total, approximately 30% of the total production acreage in Ukraine. Just recently, I saw the video at this news channel with the Ukrainian Minister of Agricultural Affairs, of Foreign Affairs, and our ministry, Dmytro Kuleba, was asked a question. Let me show you just a second. Let me find the video to show you. Okay. Okay. Can you see the screen, the video screen? Please let me know if you can see it, because
the whole world have to pay for the fact that Ukraine refuses to give up territory to Vladimir Putin. by famine, by higher energy costs?
I think that we live in a world where everyone can make its own choice on what to do and what not to do. Some believed in the beginning of this war, some countries believed that this will never affect us. This is just Russia and Ukraine, this is their affair. Now, some of these countries are already feeling the pressure of the food crisis, and they feel the repercussions of this war on them. And this is only the beginning. And if we allow President Putin to continue his military madness, the crisis will go deeper and deeper. Because
yes, so this is what our ministry answered. I would like to add only one thing. There is a attitude toward terrorists that is used by the intelligence and the FBI, CIA, and in the Western world. Never negotiate with the terrorists, because their blackmailing, their stakes, their demands will grow only higher. So in this situation, if we are, and that has been already proved for many times with Russia, once we do something in favor of their requests, they ask more and more. So who knows what would be the next blackmailing. So now Lavrov, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russia, he said, we will consider opening the corridors towards the world to export the commodities. And he was saying it to the African countries, representatives of African countries, most dependent on our commodities. But you should influence Europe on the sanctions. So this is their position, official position right now. According to the US Department of Agriculture, our export is really decreasing this year. So before the war, we were exporting, according to different estimations, total exportation per month was up to 6 million metric tons of grain. That is including sea, railroads, some river transportation, just a little bit, but still, and of course, the trucks transportation. And again, according to different estimations, I've heard 20 million metric tons, but the recent number from the UN, United Nations Food Agency, it is 25 million metric tons of commodities are still in Ukraine, and they must be exported before the harvest of the winter crops. That is in less than a month. And of course, it results in about more than 50% of grain storage used right now. Last year at this moment we had less used, and we do not see a lot of solutions how to export it later this year. However, there are some attempts done, and those are, first of all, railway. We need to, and this is a very important issue that a lot of people are working on, we need to reestablish the procedure of crossing the border with the fact that the railroads in Ukraine are wider, that there are some paperwork done that needs to be done at the border. Therefore, both European and Ukrainian companies are working on creating the international companies that would accelerate this process. But still, there is a physical limitation, and it is about the difference of the rails. The second is it takes almost up to 10 times longer to load the barge. If, for example, we speak about the nearest port, Constanța in Romania, so the barge can be loaded 10 times longer from the railroad cars rather than from the terminal directly. The grain exports are increasing very small, in a very not that quick as we would wish. It was only 0.4 million metric tons in March, 0.6 in April. And the plan is for the Ukrzaliznytsia, which is Ukrainian railway company. It is owned by the government, and they plan to target 1.5 million metric tons exported within a month by the time fall comes, like September. Hopefully, they will succeed. So this is the breakdown of what and how much Ukrzaliznytsia, the railroad, succeeded to transport in May. So 768,000 tons. This is 0.7, almost 0.8 million, and that's just for the grains. And you can see the breakdown. Also, there are a few options from the ports left to the very west of Ukraine, but those ports are very small ones, and only a little less than 0.2 million metric tons were exported through those ports. Danube. This is the river that is that the border is coming between Moldova and Ukraine. Actually, Romania and Ukraine is coming through. So this river, as you can see, it goes to even to Netherlands, and it is one of the very good options for transportation of Ukrainian grain, although it still needs to be transported to this part here from all over Ukraine. It is much more difficult to do because recently Russians damaged the bridge over here, and that was a very powerful transportation artery. They want to disconnect us from this part of Ukraine over here. So Romania and other European countries are helping us as much as they can in organizing this transportation, and the company, the Ukrainian company, has already held auctions to transport grain with barges through this river. But taking into consideration that fuel prices are very high and the railroad is overloaded with transportation of other things, it is a very big challenge to bring all the commodities from Ukraine to here. So I've already mentioned that the weapon is coming towards Ukraine, but there are a lot of talks right now how to actually open the ports, because number one reason why the ship cannot be loaded with grain in our agricultural ports is because the sea is mined with these mines, the drifting mines in the Black Sea. And when Russians claimed that we Ukrainians were to blame for those mines being settled there, they provided the exact number of mines in the sea. So how would they know? Anyway, the Turkey, the country of Turkey, and a number of other countries are right now negotiating with Russia about the possibility to actually allow the international Panamaxes and barges to be brought to Ukrainian ports and unload their commodities. We will see what it will result in. They are going to be negotiating in Ankara soon. So these are some of the numbers of how much was blocked in the actual ports, and we can only guess how much was already stolen from those ports, because there are a number of cases when Russia were bringing the grain from Ukraine to Egypt and other countries, but so far only Syria successfully purchased it, knowing that it is stolen from Ukrainian ports from Russians. So they have stolen the commodities, brought them to Syria, and Syria purchased them at the amount of at least 100,000 metric tons. And this is the information from the UAE embassy in Beirut. The prices in the occupied territories. So first of all, I've mentioned that Kherson Oblast, this is the region that is actually attached to the corridor to Crimea. So this region is known for its open field production of vegetables and watermelons. It is like Ukrainian California. It produces enough to feed all Ukraine and to export. However, right now, the borders, so to say, borders between this region and Ukraine are all blocked. Nobody and no vehicle can cross this border. Therefore, what they do, they bring Ukrainian products from there to Crimea and sell it for nothing. As a result, farmers are losing a lot. I've already heard from the farmers that Russian administration in this oblast approached them and asked, actually demanded them to provide all the statistical data about their storage capacities, about their production hectareage and so on. And they were promising instead to help them export their grain. However, there were cases once the farmers provided this information, the commodities from their elevators vanished in a couple of days. So this is how it works right now in the occupied areas. In case with Zaporizhia, Melitopol, this area is famous for its cherries. The cherry season is coming, and Russian administration that rule over there in those occupied territories right now, they have started talking that they will take all the crop. This is just the rumors. Nobody knows what is going to happen in fact, but this is what they talk about. About the prices. This is the price span in Ukraine, in the unoccupied territories. And you can see how the prices went up just due to the fact of, first of all, the exchange rate changing. Secondly, of the chains broken. However, no matter what the prices are, we will still have enough production in Ukraine for the inside usage. And what is happening right now? At least 56% of Ukrainians own the farmland. That I'm saying at least because this is official information. And we are considering planting even in some other lands, like for example, that was assigned for construction. So right now, Ukrainians are looking for as many acres of land to plant some commodities to supply themselves by the end of the year with the produce as possible. And they are planting mainly the vegetable, the borscht set, which is potatoes, onions, carrots, cabbage, table beet, and tomatoes, and some fresh vegetables as well. Those are their priority products. This is how Ukrainian production, agricultural production looks like. We have about 28 million of hectares. In Ukraine, it is allowed for the LLCs, limited liability companies, to farm. And we have about 20%, up to 20% of land farmed by these corporations. They're successful, they pay taxes, they have a lot of employers, so they create jobs, and they are very widespread throughout Ukraine. However, this fact brings a lot of damage to them because most of them have suffered from the occupation in some of the oblasts. next part of the agricultural producers is the private farmers. Those are the actual individuals who were successful enough to purchase the devastated collective farms and for just nothing. However, with all those debts, with all those remainings of the Russian, so to say, tradition of farming, they needed to invest a lot, and first of all, a lot of their time and efforts to bring order to those farms. So they farm about half of this 28 million of hectares. It is, I'm talking about the average year, not about this year. And they are spread throughout all Ukraine. And of course, there are these smallest farmers, the family farms. They make the majority in numbers. I mean, there are the most number of these smallest families, agricultural producers, village families. However, they farm about 30% of the land. They produce about 30% of the crops and up to 45% of animal produce, which is milk, eggs, poultry, and so on. Here are a little bit more exact numbers. So horticulture produce comes to 70% produced by these smallest family farms. Dairy produce is 60%, because majority of them, every second village citizen has one cow. Small grains, those are usually spring ones, produced up to 40% by the smallest agricultural producers, and potatoes make up to 90%. That is in the total volume produced in Ukraine. So the remaining 10% or 60% or 40 or 30 are the actual big farmers. So during this war, these smallest family farms, they have suffered a lot because Russian troops were coming through their villages and they were destroying their houses, their production capacities, their fields, their tractors. At the beginning of April, we, the Travelite team, we have made up this project, World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine. And this is the project aimed to help these people. The reason is that these people are most unprotected. They have been spending decades of their life to build something in their in these small farms, in their households. They do not have much collateral to get the loans, so they will not be given those loans by the banks. And so far, I haven't seen any program, official or governmental program, to support them. Therefore, we, the Travelite team, have set a goal for us to help these people by rebuilding their businesses and their homes. The World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine is a targeted aid. So we are targeting only those who have suffered severe damages from the war, and those who do a little bit of agricultural production, and those who have no hope for other help from any other institutions or funds. As a result, we have Dmitro, my colleague. He has traveled through a number of villages in the area north from Kyiv, and we have come up with the first aid recipients. And this is the farm of Alexander Krivosheya. He farms about 500 hectares, but he lost everything in this war, because the Russians came and they were using his facility to fix the military equipment. As a result, he lost even the utensils and all the tools to fix the equipment. His storages, his inputs, most of his machinery was lost. And we have also the second farm, not farm, this is actually the house or household which we are going to be helping. This is the family of Kokosha Aula. There were 7 of them living in the house, and this is what has been made with their house. We have brought the third-party experts to do the estimation of the reconstruction. This is what we concluded, so how the reconstructed house will look like. The preliminary budget for this reconstruction is a little bit over 1 million hryvnias. However, we still are working on getting the most accurate numbers. And once we get the numbers, we will approach our ambassadors. So this is the unique thing about the World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine project. We allow anyone who is willing and who has assisted us in any way with this project to join the Board of Ambassadors. The Board of Ambassadors are the people who are reputable. They can be from any industry, any country. They support our project, and they also can influence our decisions. So once the budget for any of the aid recipients is formed, we send out the proposed program, how the money is going to be spent towards the Board of Ambassadors. And there is this silent consent, which means that if they agree, they do not need to communicate to write back. However, if they have any questions or if they disagree with our decisions, they can influence the decisions and they can veto their funds transferring. Therefore, any company, and we are looking for the way to connect bigger companies, bigger egg producers, funds, they can set up their own Board of Ambassador if they donate into the fund, and they can control how the money is spent. So what we are actually, there is one slide missing here. I'm sorry. So there is a way to support, there are 3 ways to support this program of ours. The first one is to do the actual donation towards the LifeNet NGO, and it is on our website. I will be showing the address of the website. There is much more information there. The second is actually to for the egg producers, and especially this goes with the cooperatives and all groups of farmers in the United States and worldwide. We would like to spread the word about this program, a penny per bushel. So they can, the agricultural producers, they can pledge to donate 1 penny from each bushel of their crops from this upcoming harvest. So it is not that they are giving off money right now, they are just pledging to give a part of it from the next harvest in the future. 1 penny, it is the minimum amount. However, if we can get a lot of farmers, agricultural producers worldwide to support their peers, the smallest egg producers in Ukraine, it will be a substantial amount, and it can actually save the life businesses of a number of families in Ukraine. This is first of all is a noble project. Secondly, these smallest farmers can become bigger in the future, and they will not only play a vital role in the supply of the food, but also can become clients to some of the world companies on inputs or machinery. So what else can be done? We are looking for any opportunity to deliver the message about our project, World to Rebuild Rural Ukraine, to, first of all, media. Secondly, to the, like I said, groups of agricultural producers, cooperatives, service companies, input supply companies, machinery producers. I am traveling throughout the United States of America until the end of July with the purpose of organizing and of having these meetings. I have the thorough prepared presentation for the boards, the decision makers of those groups of people, to explain how it works and how important that program is right now. So if you have any opportunity to help me reach those people, the decision makers in those companies, I'm open for any recommendation. And here is the phone number, here are the contact information, how to reach me. This project, unfortunately, is going to last for years because there is huge amount of damage done to the rural villages and to rural areas and villages already to the north of Ukraine. However, we still have a lot of occupied territories in the south. If you give me a second, I received a message from Anton Korobko. He is supposed to be joining us. Let me listen to the message and I will get back to you in just a second. So he just said that he is on his way towards computer and he might be joining in 15 minutes. So meanwhile, I'm first of all ready to listen to your questions if you have any, and of course to your ideas about how we can proceed with our program. Otherwise, we will be, also please invite as many people as possible towards these bi-weekly updates that we are running every second week. And the next time, in 14 days, we are going to invite the CEO of the railway in Ukraine. And it is the very vital infrastructure right now. They are taking care of the military supplies, of evacuation of people. And also, of course, as you've already seen, they are working very hard on developing the possibilities to export the grain and other commodities that Ukraine produces, so that the economy is working. So, if you have any questions, please ask, join. Otherwise, what we can do, we can pause for these 10-15 minutes. You can take a break, make some coffee or whatever. And once Anton connects, we will talk to him. Meanwhile, you, of course, can make up some questions for him because he is the farmer in Chernihiv Oblast. This is the oblast, the region very north from Kyiv, and his farm was first to be occupied by Russians. So we will hear from him how his business and his fellows were surviving it. So let's give about 10 minutes, 10 minutes break, and then we will proceed. Okay. So let's continue. Anton is just joining, and while he is joining, I would like to update you with the latest information from our Ministry of, actually not ministry, but ambassador in Turkey, Vasil Bodnar. So he said that there have been cases of Turkey purchasing the stolen grain from Ukraine through the Syria. And so far, the Turkey government officials have not reacted to this accusation, but we know that there has been at least 100,000 of metric tons of wheat and commodities brought to Syria by Russian ships. And Egypt and other countries were refusing, but everybody were understanding that Syria might be just the hub to support and then to sell it to the other countries. Hello, Anton. Thank you for finding time to join us today. We have gone through the realities in the fields, in the agricultural fields in Ukraine right now. And I know that your farm is located in the very northern part of Ukraine. So as the farmer, as the agricultural producers, could you share your, first of all, experience this planting season? What is the situation right now, and how has it been developing over this spring?
We have, hello everybody, we have 3 different, let's say, location for our holding. So it's Sumy region, Chernigov North region, and Poltava region. And from beginning of the war, there was a different situation around there. So in Chernigov region, we were occupied for 2 months. In Sumy region, there is some battles near us in Akhtirka. I think all of you heard about this town in the Sumy region. But let's say we got luck, and our infrastructure and everything were, let's say, safe right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have a huge
Very good to hear.
logistical problem like 2 months ago, and we are make a special logistic team, let's say, to logistate to the Chernigov region, because how you know, all of the bridges, let's say, in Chernigov region are broken from the beginning of the war. So, and now, right now, there is only one bridge, let's say, stay safe near the Konotop, and there is only way, or you must go from other way from Chernigov.
Let me show you the map. So here is what Anton is talking about. This is the Chernihiv Oblast over here. This is the Sumy Oblast, and Poltava is a little bit to the south from them. So Chernihiv, Sumy, this is where Akhtirka is located, the most suffered region. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, and tell me please if you were able to plant at all this year.
Yeah, one more time we got luck, because let's say in the very beginning, in the first day of the war, a lot of Russian troops go through us to the Chernigov. Mm-hmm. So, and we stay safe for that month. There was one, let's say, political things. They tried to make a first military administration in our Semyonovka town, yeah, but there was, how I understand, only for the Russian publics, and that's it. So they come for one day, then leave it. Mm-hmm. So we got luck, not like other Chernigov region, because there is a huge problem for people to planting and seeding. We got luck, and now we are already 90% of our Chernigov region we already plant.
Mhm. So, and you are going to plant all the acreage, all the hectareage in all of
No.
your areas.
10% will leave. The most closest, let's say we have some part the closest to the border. We'll
Mhm.
leave it for the next year because it's not safe right now there.
Not say from the artillery standpoint or
From the
the
artillery, yeah,
mines.
from the artillery, from the air forces as well, because there is was a air strike to Novgorod-Siversky about 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
So it's not 100% safe area right now there. So that we decided to leave that for the next year. And we also have a huge project for biogas plant. It's also situated there in
Mhm.
Semyonovka region, and we got the license this week. So I hope in 1.5 months we will start producing their electricity from this silage. So
Mhm.
we are still in that project, and I hope everything will be successful. So.
Got it. And what about the inputs and the crop rotation? So, what crops have you considered changing the acreage between the crops? And what is the supply of inputs?
Let's say on March we have let's say 3 plants for that year, but 3 different plants. But after that we stay on the same crop propagation as we planted before war.
So what are the crops that you grow?
Sunflower, silage, corn. We already has the rapeseed.
Winter,
Yeah,
right? Or spring?
Winter. No, winter. And
Okay.
we have spring. We have wheat as well. Also autumn, winter wheat.
And what about the inputs? Have you had enough for the corn and for all of these commodities, or you purchased it upfront in the fall?
You asking about imports or exports?
Input, like the fertilizers, the crop protection, and fuel.
We bought all fertilizers before war. We have the contracts with let's say herbicide and seeds. We have all the contracts before war, so and everything was good with that. So we got 100% from our suppliers. We had 100%.
Good to hear that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
What would be the top 3 issues this planting season for you, for your farm? Like the most important problem from 1 to 3. Of course, security, safety probably is number 1, right?
No, it's not the first problem. In our region, let's say it's okay. Most important thing that we don't, let's say, enough people to work because war, and let's say best our people 10% go to the war because we can't stay there because they have a, let's say, a special
skills. They have these skills that are needed for the war.
I understand this is the best people, so it was the problem. Another problem is of course, this is the problem with the export and with logistic, because we still has corn, we still has sunflower, and we see that in 1 month we had the rapeseed for the export, and all of the things. I think this is the most and huge problem right now for everybody, and this will be the, let's say, first problem for the all Ukraine. And of course, prices for the ends problem with the diesel and petrol. So
Got it. So, and
Of course, there is a lot of things about logistic, about that we have like war and a lot of people move from the country and other things. But for us, what we understand, the most important and the most difficult thing is export and sell our products, which we already produce and we will have on this summer and autumn.
Tell me, please, what is the total acreage, the area of your fields in those three oblasts?
Acreage
Yeah,
in which in whole or in
whole, in all the three.
About 30,000 acres.
30. Oh, good to understand. So you
if
are
we're talking about acres, yeah.
Yeah, not hectares. That's right. By the way, we had a question. What is if you are aware, what is the average production of corn in Ukraine? Not like the last year in 2021, which was the best, but what is the average? And I can help you. We have these
millions
numbers.
ton, you mean? In millions ton?
Yes. So in here it is. No, this is the production. Sorry, planting.
Last year, I think we produced about maybe.
Here it is, 37.6 million metric tons.
Yeah.
That was in 2021.
Like there was we must produce 42, but then we produce less, something like that.
But the average year is still around this 37, 30, 40, right? Or it is lower? I mean, before.
It is low because we don't have, let's say, we lost, I think, more than 25%.
For this year, but for the average over the last 5 years, what would be the production of corn?
Of corn?
Of corn, yes, of corn.
I think 8-10 million tons. If I'm not wrong, it's maybe.
It says 37 from see the slide here.
Oh, here
21. It was 37, but this was the best year, and they were asking the question how.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't exactly remember. So I think the average. Oh, here is the crops I see. So 22, and 21. Let's say I think average it's about. If we see this diagram, it's about 30 millions. I think average, maybe less, because we have last year we have very good. Before that we have less year, and 2 years ago we have also a very good year for the corn. And this year, I think also it started good for the corn with weather and everything, but it's only June, beginning of the June. So the most important months is July, end of June. So we'll see. And of course, we have a lot of fields which are the people changing crop rotation, from to the other, let's say, plants. So.
So what is your prognosis for the total agricultural industry towards the end of the season? Do you think we will be able to export all that commodity? And
if our let's say ports Odessa, Nikolaev still close, that will be a huge collapse for Ukraine
and for the
world, of course for the world, because now we are already 2 months. We are trying to do something. We are trying our best. So our department, for trading department, and there is very hard and very slow. And the, let's say, railway, and this is borders with Romania, Poland, and let's say ports from in Romania and other countries. They are not working like our ports. And there is not enough. So it's about 20% of our facilities and everything. So the most important thing that, or we must find some super ways through the Europe, or somebody, I don't know, maybe political way, must be some agreement with Russian Federation about the ways for our deblockaded our port Odessa and Nikolaev.
Mhm. And by the way, I've heard that Odessa is not occupied, but the port is controlled by Russians. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Mhm. And we still have these two small ports to the west, right? I don't remember. Let me find this chart here.
Dunai, you mean? That's
Yes, something like that. We had this,
they are too small. They are too small.
but they still work. So here it
They're
is.
still working, but they're too small and not so quick. So to do something else, there is a lot of problem there. So it's Ismail, you mean? Ismail?
Yes. Ismail and a number of others.
Yeah.
I cannot find it here. Yes, it is. In general, we have about 7 ports that can do agricultural commodities export, and majority of them are blocked. Or those that
Yeah.
aren't, they are very far to the west, southwest. By the way, did you and your farm have opportunity to export by trucks to Poland, or you're not considering that?
Yeah,
an
we
option?
have that opportunity, but how you know everybody want to export something? Yes, not only us. All Ukraine want to do that. The problem is that also on the borders, for example, we want to sell sunflower to the Romania. We have the contract, and that's good. So we find the truck. Okay, it's cost about, I don't know, like more than 3,000 euro. So then we put, let's say, the sunflower in a special way to some packaging 1 ton. So, okay, we send the truck to the border of the Chernovtsi. And there is 5 to 6 days, let's say, traffic. So, and the truck must stay on the border 5-6 days. And that must be a special truck, because Ukrainian trucks is not allowed to go. Let's say 70% of Ukrainian trucks is not allowed to go there. The problem not in the drivers, the problem is about Euro 5, Euro 6, and that. So there is not enough right now transport to export such amount of the production of the commodities.
So, and what
We're
is
not
the
talking about corn, because corn is too expensive to, let's say, using the trucks. Only railway, only.
What is the capacity of one truck that is allowed on the roads? 20 tons?
24 tons, 23 tons, 24 tons.
24 tons. So if we have 20, let's say minimum 20 million left, divide by 24, it is almost 83,000 trucks that need to be taken to take out all those commodities.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I have found this slide about the ports, which I was looking at the beginning. If you can see, so we have here Ismail Port and Reni Port and Uzdunai.
Reni. That I'm talking to Reni. Yes.
Yeah. So their capacity here are minimum. This is
of course you can see there
per year. So all the other ports were exporting 19 million. I don't know. This is after. Before it was 53 million, 29. So this is the South Port. This is the Mykolaiv Port, where Nibulon is located. Chernomorsk Port, Odessa Port, Mariupol Port, which is totally, as far as I know, Mariupol Port is destroyed or not, or it still stands there. The port itself.
Yeah, absolutely right. There is a numbers. 40 months are needed to export all the grain. That's it. That's all information what we need to know.
And also, we have a little less than 9 weeks of the wheat supply worldwide. Yes, of course, the winter crops are coming, but still 9 weeks. This is the lowest number according to the United Nations over the last couple of years. Okay, thank you, Antone, for the talk, and good luck to you with first of all, with the safety, with production, and we will be proceeding our mission here. If anyone has questions, please join us on the audio. Otherwise, keep watching the updates from us on the Facebook and on the website. We will proceed traveling. The next stop will be in the end of next week for us, for the World Tribute to Ukraine in North Dakota. Meanwhile, thank you everyone, and God save everyone who supports Ukraine and who is doing their best to keep peace in the world and to feed the world, of course, the farmers worldwide. We have a very important mission this year. So thank you.
Thank you. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.